Welcome everybody to Clear Vision Wednesday. I am Claudia Mühlenweg. I'm the creator of the Natural Clear Vision Method. And this is my weekly live show where we talk all things vision improvement. And today I have a guest that I'm super excited about. I recently met him at a business event, and I've never really been a fan of just simple blue blocking glasses. And when Roudy told me what his product is like and what he created, I was like super excited. You have to come onto my show. Okay, let me bring him here. Welcome, Roudy.
Thank you, Claudia. Thanks for having me.
So before we get into our topic is light today. Obviously, it's all about light, junk light, sunlight, full spectrum, all the different things. Tell us really quickly, like how you got into all this.
Yeah, absolutely. So as a kid, 3 years old, I was at school, the perfect example of a problem child. I was suffering from a lot of headaches, agitation, eye strain, and inability to focus. My teachers were so quick to label me with ADHD, and they forced me back into a rigid educational system where those artificially lit classrooms felt like a prison cell to me. And to be honest, Claudia, all I wanted is to break free and feel that sunshine on my face. As a kid, I had this intuitive ability that other kids did not have, but somehow I would be able to hear the noise coming from light bulbs. And I would also be feeling the torturing frequency of the light bulbs in the classroom. And I wanted to be outside. And I could not express this to my teachers. So troublemaking became my only escape from the prison. And believe it or not, I was actually asked to leave 7 different schools.
Wow.
Now, fast forward a few years, I somehow landed myself in an engineering school. But to be honest, by that time, I was completely disconnected from myself due to being forced to be in a classroom in a place where I did not belong. And I started living like a night owl, wired all night and completely useless and drained during the day. I was literally feeling like I've been chewed up and spat out by life, always tired, never up for much. And I was constantly unmotivated, both in my professional life as an engineer and in my social and romantic life. And I remember by that time, I was like super fatigued, always dragging myself through the day as if I was wearing a massive backpack full of rocks. Now, the lowest point was when I received some news that I actually got fired from my job as an engineer. I woke up the following morning. I was feeling literally like a truck ran over me. Literally like laying down in bed, staring at the ceiling. And I was paralyzed with deep, deep sadness and fatigue. And I couldn't bring myself to get up from bed or even find a compelling reason to do so. And at that point, thoughts of planning my suicide started to creep in. And it was so scary. And to be honest, I remember thinking about my mom and the pain that I would cause her if I were to act on those thoughts. So it was a very dark time in my life. And around that same time, at some point, I literally stumbled upon a quote from Albert Einstein, who literally played a fundamental role in my ability to understand light later. But this quote said, insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. And it struck me like a bolt of lightning. Something happened when I read those words. And I decided that, you know what, it's enough pain. It's time for me to make a radical change in my life. So I literally packed my bags. I was in Lebanon back then, and I decided to travel and to start learning from different health experts and doctors, hoping that I could improve my mental conditions. Now, the journey wasn't the easiest because different doctors and different health gurus were telling me completely different things. It was so much that scene of like, hey, eat this, don't eat that, take this vitamin, no, try this gadget, no, that gadget. And to be honest, Claudia, at my stage back then, it was very complicated and extremely confusing. And no matter how many diet I tried, and no matter how many expensive supplements I bought, nothing seemed to work. And I was like so lonely, thinking to myself, oh my God, why does it need to be extremely complicated? I mean, there must be an easier way. So one evening, I was completely lost in the vast sea of the internet. And I stumbled upon a video by a neurosurgeon from the US. His name is Dr. Jack Kruse. And the video was titled, Artificial Light is Killing Us. Ironically, it was around 12 or 1 a.m. in the morning, and I'm blasted with artificial light from my screen, trying to make sense of what this guy was saying. And my mind was super foggy and tired. And everything he seemed to say literally flew over my head. And at the time, I also used to smoke cannabis. So I would wake up, I would have like states at night where I feel like, oh my God, I'm on the top of my world. I want to change everything. And then I would wake up lacking that energy. But I woke up completely, did not remember anything from what he said. But there was one sentence that kept coming to my consciousness. And the sentence says, you can't get healthy in the same light environment that made you sick. So I was like, whoa, like, what does he mean by light environment? And what he meant is the light we're exposed to all the time while living an indoor lifestyle, like the LED bulbs and all the screens and computers. And having tried to improve my health with all these different health modalities without experiencing long-lasting benefits, I decided to take his words to heart. And I'm like, I have nothing to lose. Let me try. So I was sitting down with a friend. I'm like, I'm trying to find a way so that I could escape all this light environment that I'm in. And he's like, I think I have an idea for you. I'm like, yes, please. And he shared with me about this amazing website called Woofing, where you actually go online and you find farmers who are open to hosting you at their place. You go and help them to farm and learn different techniques from biodynamic farming to permaculture. And in exchange for your help, you get to sleep at their place and you get to eat the food that they grow. So I was super excited about it. And I literally found this farm up north in Canada. I packed my stuff and I went on this journey for 6 weeks where I was farming. I was sleeping in my tent in a beautiful field surrounded by trees and greenery with access to sunrise and sunset, things I have not experienced all of my life. And technically, I was exposed to natural sunlight during the day and fire and candlelight during the evening. Now, here's the magic. Within a matter of 3 days, I felt a transformation that I hadn't felt in 25 years. And it took me back literally to the time when I was a kid at school, when I was still very connected to the light of my soul and to my creativity. And to my surprise, my intense headaches and eye strain disappeared. And having been told that I'm a night owl, which became part of what I believed about myself, I literally started sleeping shortly after the sunset to then wake up at dawn with no alarm, feeling fresh, rested, and energized like never before. And I was infused with an exhilarating sense of joy. I mean, I was depressed. How did that happen, right? I was on top of my world. And having been told that I am an ADHD person, that I can't focus, well, for the first time, I was able to read a book and finish it in a week. And those farmers over there were actually praising me for the level of attention and detail that I was showing on the field. So my focus was razor sharp. So I was sitting down with all of this after 3 days, and it was like, whoa, that's a lot to digest. Like, what's happening? I didn't change my diet. I didn't take supplements. What's happening? And the puzzling thing is that this magic did not last very long. After I came back to the city, and within a matter of few weeks, I literally fell back into my old terrible routine of staying up late at night, exposed to artificial light, and the pain of intense headaches, eye strain, depression, and chronic fatigue start to creep in once again. And to my astonishment, those night owl tendencies and those symptoms would literally disappear every time I moved back to the farm, because I had this like 3 years journey, literally, of going and volunteering on different farms in different countries. And I decided to dedicate myself to that lifestyle and study myself and study nature to understand what is happening. And being the curious soul that I am, I was so eager to comprehend this miraculous transformation, which led me to start studying the realm of light and health. And it was the beginning of a 7-year journey so far of questioning, unlearning, and relearning. And this led me to what I call today the science of quantum biology and circadian biology. And in the beginning stages of me discovering those sciences, I had a massive breakthrough moment. And I was reflecting on an equation that I've always knew about from Albert Einstein. And I bet everyone on the call knows E equal mc squared.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to share something with you that has completely transformed the way I look at health, that I have never looked at from that perspective before. Are you open, Claudia, for me diving a little bit deeper in the equation?
Absolutely, absolutely. We definitely want to make sure we cover those topics. So this is really, so you had at some point that epiphany that light was like the main difference between those scenarios, right? Was that something that what became clear to you, that the biggest change in all this, what you were doing, is light exposure to nature versus artificial light? Or was that something that, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
crazy.
I'll share a little bit more with you, but the one observation that I had throughout those 4 or 5 years is that I start to realize that all of those farmers that lived up north and lived a lifestyle that is synchronized with nature's light and dark cycles, they had a quality of light in their eyes they have never seen in the community of folks who were following all these dogmatic and complicated diets. And to me, that made sense because I was already asking myself this question: why does it need to be that complicated? Is there a way that makes all of this much easier? And the answer came to me via those farmers, because what I observed is that all of them, they did few things that are different from what we do when we live a modern lifestyle in a city. They all woke up before the sunrise with no alarm clock. They spent a lot of their time outdoors in natural lighting, moving, working with the earth, being grounded to the earth. They ate at similar time every day, and they ate what grew around them, right? So the food that entered their mouth was literally the food that was grown under the light environment where they lived. And they were not exposed to any form of artificial lights at night. Fire and candlelight were the only form of light that they were exposed to after the sunset. And technically, they all fasted after the sunset, and none of them eat the moment the sun sets, because technically in nature, all of our ancestors could not eat. Like light and darkness would really dictate our behavior and would dictate when we would be active out and about and when we would be resting, digesting, and detoxifying. So when I looked at this quantum equation from Albert Einstein, E equal mc squared, let me break it down. E is light, and m is mass, which means stuff, just like our bodies and everything around us, including the earth. And c is speed. Okay, so E equal mc squared. Now, this might sound like it's coming straight out of a science fiction movie, but here's what it actually means. This equation means that light and matter are exactly the same thing. And when light slows down, it turns into matter. So I'm going to repeat. When light slows down, it turns into matter. And this means that we are light beings and that our bodies are composed of light. And in fact, let's connect this to the eyes. In the eyes, we have what is called a substance called the vitreous EDI, which is composed of water, collagen, and acid. And one of the roles of the vitreous EDI is to slow light down. And when light slows down, it gives energy to all of those hormones and brain chemicals that control the way we think, the way we feel, and the way we act. So light creates reality. And the type of light that gets into our eyes really influence how good we sleep, which mood we are in, how much energy we have, and how well we can focus and how much we can get done. So this whole soup of biochemistry is literally controlled by light waves. And those light waves are changing the way we see ourselves and the world around us. And one of the challenges today is that we live in cities where we get very little sunlight during the day, and we are bombarded by artificial lights from phones, screens, LED bulbs in the kitchen, in the bathroom, down the malls. And the problem with those artificial lights is that they have never been designed taking our biology and our connection to nature into consideration. So they mess up our bodies and they disconnect us from nature's rhythm.
Well, that is super fascinating, and I 100% agree. But obviously, we now live in a modern world. So you thought, being an engineer, there must be some kind of something I can create to kind of get that junk light and turn it into something that's better. So tell us a little bit about the light spectrum and blue blockers and like all that kind of stuff, because I get that asked all the time, and all I say is we need blue light, otherwise we would be just sleeping all day. The sun has blue light, but obviously this is a little bit more complicated. So maybe break it down for us, what the difference is between sunlight, artificial light, and the different artificial light, and why simple blue blockers where you just block the blue light and nothing else is maybe not the best idea during the day, especially.
Absolutely. So one of the people that I was also influenced by their work down the road is a doctor called John Ott. And John Ott has a very interesting analogies. He says, just like food, the good kind of food is nourishing to our bodies. However, the bad kind of food, that junk food from McDonald's, for instance, is completely sabotaging to our bodies. So when we think about light is the most powerful nutrient on earth. And just like food, there's the good kind of light and there's the bad kind of light. And what I was dealing with in my life is being exposed to junk artificial light all the time. So I really wanted to solve that problem to myself. And I was digging a little bit more about some solutions. I learned about blue light blocking glasses. And I literally tried all sorts of glasses that were supposed to filter out that bad light. But literally, Claudia, none of them worked. How is that possible? Like, I'm filtering out that blue light. Why is it not working for me? And being an engineer, I understood the physics of light very well. So I went ahead and I bought a Spectre color mirror, which is a tool that could measure the light that is present in any given environment. And to my surprise, as I started to measure the light, the capacity of those glasses to filter out the blue light, I was blown away because I realized that most of those companies did not know what they're doing. They were just following that gimmick that blue light is bad, and they were trying to block whatever frequency at whatever time without backing it up with true understanding of the light in nature.
So it became such a hype, right? So everybody jumped on the bandwagon, and absolutely. So, okay. I love the science behind all this. Very fascinating.
It's a massive problem, because when things get hyped like this, many businessmen, whether they understand the science or not, they invest their money because they see that there's, demand. And what often happens is, people go to big factories in China and they ask them to manufacture those products without real understanding of what those products are doing. And, the hype is a hype. People start talking about it. And even to my surprise, what I realized is the first pair of blue light blocking glasses that I was sold, I paid for it $300 at my optometrist office. And those are known for clear blue light blocking glasses. Now, when I tested those clear blue light blocking glasses with my Spectre color mirror, it blew me away because it was actually blocking a frequency of light that is not emitted by LED bulbs and screens. So I'm just going to share my screen really quick just to show you the...
Yeah, visuals are always good when it comes to those things. I agree. And if you have any questions, so those of you watching on YouTube, make sure you put them in the comments. And as long as we have Roudy live here, we will make sure to answer them. You should be able to share your screen.
Yes, so I think that's it.
Most blue blocking glasses are kind of yellow. So
are you able to see my screen?
Yeah, can you click on slideshow so that we go into full screen?
Sure.
Okay, awesome.
Okay, so this is the Spectre emission that I was able to detect when I measured the light that is coming off any LED bulbs that you use in homes, which is similar and equal to the LED emission coming from screens and devices. And as you can see here, the Spectre distribution is completely unbalanced and disproportionate. It's spiking in this narrow peak in blue light, which is not even full spectrum blue light. It's starting at 440 nanometers, spiking at 455, and going down at 480. Now, when I tested the glasses from the optometrist office, those glasses, or the clear blue light blocking glasses, they were blocking blue light up to 430 nanometers, so up to here, if you're seeing my arrow. And technically, they were blocking blue light that is not emitted from LED bulbs and screens, which was completely a waste of money. And then I went to so many different optometrist offices, and I was showing this on my Spectre color mirror to them, and I had the realization that they had no idea, that they have never measured actually the light that is being emitted from.
Let me interrupt a little bit. Were they maybe more concerned about the blue light from sunlight? You know, because obviously there's a lot of fear of natural light and sunlight in the eye care community, and so just to, just entertain us. Where's the sunlight blue light range? Maybe I don't know if you have a picture of that, so maybe I'm jumping ahead, but maybe they were not really worried about the screens, but more worried about the sunlight blue light.
I do. So here's the thing. This is sunlight's emission, right? We can see all the colors of the rainbow. It's balanced and it's proportional. Now, what's the one thing we know about nature? Every system in nature is composed of polar opposites that interchange in balance, and that creates equilibrium in our nervous system and in every system connected to nature. What do I mean here? I mean that blue light has a polar opposite. What's the polar opposite of blue light? It's red light. And as you can see in this picture, when blue is present in nature, it's always balanced and proportionate with yellow, orange, and red light. Okay? Now, blue light in nature is degenerative. It increases oxidative stress and it increases free radicals. But this does not mean that blue light is bad. I'm just going to stop sharing my screen so you can see my face better and continue explaining this point there. Are you able to see me now?
Yes.
Okay. So just a second, I can't see you. Okay, I can see you now. So blue light is degenerative and increases oxidative stress, but this doesn't mean that blue light is bad. And I'm going to give an example or an analogy. Exercise, for instance, increases oxidative stress and reactive oxygen species. However, we all know that exercise is something amazing to our bodies, because when we do it in a moderate way, this oxidative stress triggers the production of antioxidants and it enhances the immune function and protects the body from disease. However, here's the real question. What happens, Claudia, if you try to exercise all day long without resting?
That's not going to work. You're going to fall apart and be super exhausted and tired and, get sick probably. I've
Absolutely.
never tried anything like that, so I don't know.
You'll end up causing yourself more harm than good, because inflammation is going to increase in the body, and those reactive free radicals are literally similar to oily fume coming off a hot pan when you make a meal in the kitchen. And to cope with them, we turn on the exhaust in the kitchen. Now, similarly, our cells are meant to detoxify in different ways. One way is when we are exposing ourselves to sunlight, UV and infrared light, which are completely absent from artificial light, it turns out that they increase the production of a type of melatonin. It's called circulatory melatonin, which is completely different than endocrine melatonin. It has nothing to do with sleep, and it's produced locally in our cells and in our mitochondria. And it's the one thing that it does, it actually cleans off any inflammation and any free radicals on site. Okay? Now, this is completely absent from artificial light. When we are exposing our eyes to artificial light, we are exposing our eyes to this spike in blue light. And this spike is not balanced and proportionate with the regenerative colors that are supposed to create that balance that we get from sunlight. Now, to add to this, we never see blue light when the sun is down. Throughout all evolution, the moment the sun sets, that's a trigger, and that's information to our nervous system and circadian system that the day is ending, which it triggers the production of endocrine melatonin, which get released from the pineal gland into our bloodstream. And this type of melatonin is the highest antioxidant in nature. Now, it's known that any antioxidant that you get from food is able to clean off 1 to 2 free radicals, versus melatonin is able to clean up to 10 free radicals. So it's 5 to 10 times more potent than any antioxidant we get from food. And it's not the type of melatonin that you get from your pills. It's literally the melatonin that is bioavailable to us when we get proper sunlight during the day, when amino acids like tryptophan convert into serotonin and melatonin and get stored in the pineal gland so that they're released into our bloodstream. And they are only released when our eyes stop being exposed to any form of light after the sunset. And this is what is missing for most people. Most people today, they're exposed to a lot of bright artificial light after the sunset. And this sabotages their melatonin production, the highest antioxidant in nature. And what this happens, they lose their ability to detoxify the reactive oxygen species at night. So all of this reactive molecules accumulating in the eyes and in the brain, and all this oxidative stress becomes very high, and it damages the body's cells, proteins, and DNA, contributing to aging, chronic inflammation, eyesight problems, etc., etc. So just to summarize there, like we're really not, it's so simple. We're just looking at nature, and we're understanding the fundamental forces of nature that instruct our biology. And all of our biology and every system in our body, from the endocrine system to the nervous system to the circadian system, is informed by light and darkness. They are both equally important. So we need regular and consistent light exposure to sunlight during the day, and we need to stop exposing our eyes to artificial light after the sunset. And that is the time when I actually put my circadian light harmonizing glasses for evening and nighttime to filter out all of the light that would confuse my brain into thinking it's daytime again. Whereas the glasses that I'm wearing right now, those are specifically designed, Claudia, to address this spike that we saw on the graph, and to make it more balanced and proportionate with the yellow and green. And to be very clear there, this is a step towards balance. It's not utter balance yet, because utter balance is when we are getting all this full spectrum light from sunlight. But what these glasses are doing, they're decreasing the sharpness of this 455 inflammatory frequency from artificial light, and they're making it more proportionate and balanced with the other frequencies without blocking too much blue light, because
Exactly.
we need
So why it's right, so that we don't get tired. So because that's the thing that I noticed when I put, maybe effective, but they weren't balanced, and that was, that's why I don't like those glasses at all. So I would love, I know this is so informative. People on YouTube are saying this is incredible what you're sharing. I'm learning so much from you. But you just got into the night thing. So what I loved about your glasses, first of all, that they're, totally scientifically designed, not just some kind of, and then first of all, they're all sustainable. You can talk about that a little bit too. We have some made out of wood, but I love that you just like for evening, you can just clip on the orange, and then for like just before night, like the last hour, you just clip on the reds. It's so convenient versus having all these different pairs of glasses. So tell us a little bit how you designed all this. I'm curious.
Yeah, absolutely. So to come back to my story, when I was learning about light, I figured out some great ways to optimize my healthy light during the day. But my problem is that every time I came back to the city, I could not escape artificial light after the sunset. So I had to find a way. And that's when I learned about all these blue light blocking glasses. And I was trying them, they were not working. So I turned to the best scientists and circadian experts in the field, and I was holding conversations with them to understand what can be done. And luckily enough, I met this doctor from Florida who was super impressed and touched by my story. And he worked with me for 9 months, literally back and forth, to develop specific pigmentation that would be able to block exactly the right amount of the bad light at the right time of the day. Because remember, the light in nature is dynamic, and light is information. So if we try to block it in the same way all day, we're actually causing ourselves more harm than good. We need that dynamic information to flow into our system. So after a lot of back and forth, we're able to develop three different. What's that?
Who was the doctor?
I'm not supposed to mention his name.
Oh,
because
okay, got it. Okay,
yes,
sure. Okay, never mind.
He's in the optometry field, but he doesn't.
I know who it is. That's okay. Let's just leave it at that. Okay.
Okay, so yeah, it was some back and forth until we were able to come up with 3 different technologies that were supposed to be able to filter out light during the day when we're exposed to artificial lighting, only when we're indoors, never wearing these glasses outdoors. And for the second 2 parts, it was for the evening and the nighttime glasses. And when I tried those glasses, I was impressed. And by the way, Claudia, I don't know if you know, but at that time, I had 0 plans and intentions to start a business. In fact, as I was sharing with you, I was deep into my farming trips. And I was also doing a lot of, there's a method, meditation method called Vipassana. Some of you may know it.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful meditation technique where you go and sit in silence for 10 days. So for about 40 years, I was doing a lot of my farming trips and going to the meditation retreat center, either volunteering or actually sitting. And that was my lifestyle back then. And I had 0 intention to start a business. But when I made the first pair of glasses, it was in my home, literally. I bought the tools and I did the tinting myself. And the tints were developed by that doctor in collaboration with myself. I was impressed with the results. I loved it. And what happened is I decided to make 30 pairs because throughout my travels, meeting people in Vipassana, I kept hearing the same story over and over again. And having went through the suffering that I went through, I was easily able to read in between the line and seeing that all of those people were sharing with me one thing. They had different symptoms. They suffered in different ways. But the primary cause that I was able to see is that all of them were disconnected from nature's light and dark cycles. And all of them were exposed to a lot of junk artificial light. So just being the curious soul that I am, and I wanted to help, I started distributing those glasses. And I start getting phenomenal feedback from those friends. In fact, my mom was an insomniac who suffered from insomnia for 20 years. And she was living in Lebanon back then, completely miserable, losing her hair. Her skin was like full of wrinkles. Her cognition, unable to think. At that time, my mom has completely lost hope. Like the idea of her doing anything more than just like waking up, spending the day in whichever way and trying to pass time has already escaped her consciousness. She thought that's it. And at that time, she talked to her doctor, and literally her doctor came to a point where he said, listen, there's nothing we can do. I guess the best thing I could tell you is perhaps try to drink alcohol before bed, which may help you go to sleep. And I was like, oh my God, like that's the most terrible advice I've ever heard from someone. And it was around the same time when I was learning about all these things. So I had this phone call with my mom, and I shared with her about what's happening. And I said, Mom, do you trust me? She said, I do trust you, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes. I'm like, okay. I shared with her some of the tips that I teach all of my community about how to harness the power of light during the day. And I said, listen, I'm going to send you a pair of those glasses, and I want you to wear those pairs at those specific times. And I want you to be religious about it and to do it regularly and consistently for at least a week. Then after a week, my mom calls me. I take the call, and I could not recognize her face. My mom shares with me, like, it was a very, very, very emotional moment, because literally after 20 years, Claudia, she was able to sleep 8 hours per night. Wow. And that was massive. Like, I mean, I could talk about it, but like, if I lose sleep for 1 or 2 days, you can, like, I become like completely like an asshole. Like, you can't talk to me. I become literally like, my mood becomes so disrupted. And my mom has lost that for 20 years. And for her to gain back her sleep in a matter of week, and to be able to sleep 8 hours again, it was a massive moment in her life. And fast forward today, she's in Mexico. She learns English and Spanish at the same time. She started her bone broth business, and she's a completely transformed woman. Just the power of being able to sleep again and to function properly.
That is incredible. And, this is super fascinating. And so you ended up, sometimes, I don't know what you are in human design, that's a whole nother conversation, but sometimes we have to be invited, right? We don't really plan on doing something. And then more people, I'm assuming more people kept asking, you're like, I guess this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah, it was actually my sister that learned about all of this. And at the time, she was working in a bank back in Lebanon, and she really wanted to leave her job and leave the conventional settings of being in an office. So I was really encouraging her to come to Canada and to go on some of the farming trips that was going on. And finally, after like years of her like back and forth and not having the courage to do it, she took her decision, and she left her job, and she came and she was volunteering with me on those farms, and she started living the lifestyle that I was living. But one thing about my sister, ever since she was a kid, she dreamt of having a business that will transform the world. And she dreamt of starting a business where the team member in her business will be treated in a completely different way, where their health would be a priority, where they are treated as human beings, where human connection is something that is primarily and technology is secondary. So she was so inspired about the idea of starting the business, and she kept convincing me for a while, and I did not want to, because I was really like deep into my lifestyle of farming and meditating, and somehow I did not want to step into the business world.
Bless your sister for That's amazing. Sometimes we need that little push. So I'm so glad we could talk for hours, but I want to make sure that we, honor the time. So maybe you can share just a little bit about, because what I love when I first got this, I'm a former designer, right? So I am really, sustainability and packaging is important to me. And just, you have this beautiful case in cork where you can put them in, and then it's just, everything is just so gorgeous. And before we finish that, I also want to talk about this. I just gave this, my younger daughter's birthday was Monday, and she wanted a sleep mask, and I said, this is the best one, because we don't, like you said, we don't want any light at night, not even a candle or like something. Talk a little bit about that and your product, and then we can come to a close. This is so fascinating.
Absolutely. So, Claudia, one of the reasons back then that I did not want to open a business, because I had a lot of misconceptions about the business world. To me, the business world was taking, and not giving back. It was destroying the earth. It was sabotaging the future generation. And I did not want to participate in this. So my sister was literally, the flame and the light that was opening my eyes into the possibility of starting a business that would actually respect the earth, that would actually give back, that holds the principle of giving first rather than taking and destroying. And that's one of the profound values that we hold at VivaRays. And that's why you see that we focus a lot on beauty and we focus a lot on nature. And that's why all of our packaging comes from sustainable sources. All of our frames come from FSC certified wood, which is a very powerful certification that makes sure that those wood are coming from forests that are being sustainably managed. Also, we have a new frame that we just launched, which is based on 100% plant-based material. So this to say that sustainability is a massive value to us, beauty is a massive value to us, and like, what good would we be making if we were to use whatever type of material just to solve that small problem, while eventually not being able to look at the bigger picture and realizing that plastic and all this junk, non-ethical material that we may be able to get for cheap is actually destroying the earth and destroying human consciousness. So that's something that is very important. The second part that you mentioned is, I tell people that you may be able to get away with being exposed to a lot of artificial light during the day, which is not ideal. And ideally, if you have a pair of circadian harmonizing glasses like those, you will be able to soothe your eyes and help yourself to decrease the inflammatory frequency coming into your eyes. But the time that becomes extremely crucial and extremely non-negotiable is the moment the sun sets. And this is the moment that any type of exposure to artificial light becomes at least 100 times more damaging, because it completely throws our rhythm off. And this biochemistry that we spoke about, this soup that is controlled by light, gets completely thrown off in such a way where when we see light after the sunset, the body starts producing cortisol, the stress hormone, instead of producing melatonin, the antioxidant hormone. And when cortisol is high at night, it sabotages growth hormone, it sabotages our detoxification system. The liver, for instance, which is one of the a very powerful detox organ that is connected to the eye, is supposed to be working and detoxifying at night between 1 and 3 a.m. And we have all these enzymes in the liver that detoxify the blood, and they're mostly proactive when we are sleeping between the time of 1 and 3 a.m. But here's what most people don't realize. If your clock shows 1 a.m., it doesn't mean that your internal terrain and your body knows that it's 1 a.m.
Yeah.
Now, why is that? Because anytime the sun sets, if you're not blocking artificial light, and if you're exposing yourself to any form of blue or green light, it's gonna shift your clock by 2 to 3 hours every single day. And this will mean that in few days, you will be in New York, your body thinking you're in China. And we all have experienced the terrible feeling that we feel when we are jet lagged. But what most people don't realize is that 95% of our population is naturally jet lagged. And unfortunately, what this means is that none of them are able to experience what they would experience if they had a solid rhythm that is synchronized with nature. None of them is able to experience the exaltation, the ecstasy, and the joy of living a rhythmic lifestyle, and the clarity of mind and rest that we would feel if we were to wake up in the morning, if our circadian rhythm is in sync with Mother Nature. So
by the way, that's just brilliant what you said. So basically, most people in the world are jet lagged without ever going and flying on a plane. Because that to me is so catchy. You totally get it. That if you've ever flown and been in a different time zone, you're like, you feel so lousy. So that is a really, I just love that, that concept. Yeah, awesome. So we could, like I said, we have to bring you back because there's so much to talk about, because I also want to ask about incandescent light bulbs, right? Because those are very orange, look like very warm light. So like, let's say, and I know I'm in California, we can't even get them anymore. And I know some states in the United States that allow them, but I think all over the world, like you said in the very beginning, companies are focused on energy savings. They don't at all think about our health whatsoever. But let's say people still have incandescent light bulbs. What if you only have those on at night? Just really quick, without going into a lot.
While the incandescent bulb are at least 20 times or 30 times or 50 times better than LED lights, because they emit a spectrum that is somehow closer to the fire, most of them are going to be too bright at night, because it's not only about blue and green light. Brightness of light also disrupt our circadian biology and shifts our clock in the wrong direction. So what I tell people is, if you have incandescent bulbs, great. What the glasses will help you to do is to decrease the brightness. For example, the evening lenses that you clip on, they decrease the brightness by about 4 times, whereas the nighttime glasses, they decrease the brightness by 20 times. Letting the brain understand that not only there's no blue and green light in the environment, but that it's completely dark outside. And that will make a massive difference. Another great tip is positioning the light at the level of the floor is going to be very important. Why is that? Because we have a protein in the eye called melanopsin ganglion cell. And this protein is the main photoreceptor that inform our center clock in the brain, whether it's daytime or nighttime. Now, melanopsin is concentrated in the lower half of the retina. And because we have a lens in front of the retina, and because of the nature of optics, those melanopsin are mostly stimulated by overhead light, which makes sense because sunlight is overhead. So by positioning the light lower to the floor, we're less likely to stimulate melanopsin ganglion cells. And by the way, I really wanted to talk also about DHA and how blue light, even during the day, destroys DHA. I wanted to talk about retinal pigment epithelium and how they interact with different light frequencies, and about mitochondria. But I think we can keep those for another time, and we have another dive talking about those things.
We're gonna have you come back, and because this is such a vast topic. So there was a couple of questions on YouTube. Let me see. First of all, before we go on that one, so there was a question here on Zoom that was about, like, what time should we wear what? Like, these are for daytime, indoor, and like you said, this is really important. Outside, we want the natural light, and it doesn't have to be sunny. I always say that. Even in overcast sky, it's actually raining in Los Angeles right now, and it's very gray. But even, you don't get the same level of lux, right, like lumen, but basically you still get that natural light. So even if it's overcast, because a lot of, for us, the winter might not be the full sunlight. However, you want to wear, this is for indoor, right? Really, it's mostly for indoor. And you and I met at a conference, and I felt so lousy, even though it was in Arizona, it was beautifully sunny outside, but it's just like that hotel lighting, those conference rooms. And it's just, I am not usually as sensitive as you described you were, but boy, I got headaches. I never got headaches, all those kind of things. So what's the best time to wear which ones? And then I want to briefly get into your for night, because this is also, I'm so happy to have, this mask is the best ever. Because I only had plastic ones that were like this, and so I want to cover that also before we hop off.
Absolutely. Just a second. Let me grab the product so I can demonstrate why.
Okay.
When I speak about it. So that's an amazing question. So during the day, as you explained, Claudia, you never wear these glasses if you were outdoors, even if you were indoors in a setting where natural lighting is dominating artificial lighting. And this is often something that is missed when we talk about blue light blocking glasses. If you're sitting in front of your screen and there's a lot of sunshine shining on your face, the sun is a lot more intense than any form of artificial lighting that you get, and it's going to dominate your screen. So you don't need these glasses. You will only need these glasses, like you explained, Claudia, when you're in an artificial light environment where your LED bulbs and screens are dominating. And that's usually for me, if I'm in a conference, if I'm in an airport, if I go to the mall. In fact, when I was at this conference, Claudia, even 5 days of living an indoor lifestyle made a massive difference in my body. And I am so attuned to my inner terrain. I mean, even my fascia and the level of my ability to move was very different. I was noticing that my fascia was dehydrating, and that's another topic.
Get on the dance floor.
That's another topic to talk about.
But I don't know the difference to what you usually do, but I was like, that was pretty good.
Yes, a lot of martial arts, and yeah, movement is a big part of my life. I love
also moving, which is, by the way, really good for your eyes, everybody. Moving around on your screen. I try not to move so much so it's not distracting, but this is actually a really good thing. I notice you're moving a lot, which everybody with good vision actually usually moves a lot, right? But I'm just trying to like not be distracting. But yeah, anyway, keep going. Sorry, didn't want to interrupt you.
Yeah, also another thing is like blinking, right? Because when we're sitting in front of the screen, we tend to somehow stop blinking, and blinking is this natural phenomenon that lubricate the eye. So remember to blink. So during the day, you're wearing these glasses when you're being exposed to any form of artificial light. Now, the moment the sun sets, that's a very important time to be outdoors and to witness that slowly fading light, because it's a turning point in nature where this light information will tell your nervous system, your circadian system, that it's time to start secreting melatonin and preparing the body for rest, repair, and rejuvenation. And that's when actually detoxification of the eye, the brain, and all of the organ can happen in appropriate ways. When you come back home from that journey, you don't want to mess it up. So that's when you put the evening lenses, which you can seamlessly clip on like this. And those evening lenses are designed to mimic the color temperature of the bonfire at 1900 kelvins exactly. Okay. And some of you here may have went camping, and you probably know when you're around a bonfire, your nervous system instantly relaxes. You feel more calm. You feel more in flow. Yet by the beginning of the bonfire, you still have enough energy to cook, dance, socialize with friends. And this is the intent of those glasses, especially in the winter when the sun sets really early. If you put the nighttime glasses, you're gonna want to go to bed in an hour. And if the sun is setting at 4, it's completely dysfunctional, right? So these glasses are amazing for that. Now, 1 hour before bed, when you realize, or you make that's the time when you're not supposed to be doing any form of like activities that are very stimulating. That's the time when you're supposed to really take it easy and start to go inwardly. These glasses, the nighttime one, which you can clip on seamlessly also on the same frame, they're designed to filter out 100% of blue and green and decrease the brightness by 20 times, which is a very important feature that is often missing from so many of the glasses that I have tested. And those glasses will literally tell your brain it's dark outside. But guess what? They're not lying, because it is dark outside.
Yeah, right.
When you are in the city, it's impossible to make that distinction. So the glasses are helping the brain to secrete proper melatonin and help the body to start preparing for secreting growth hormone and so on. And that will allow you to have deep, restful sleep. That will allow your body to go through proper detoxification, clean off any inflammation from the eye, from the brain, so that you can wake up the following morning having the energy, the vigor, the clarity to go about your day.
So we have one more question I do want to make sure we answer, but I also want to talk about these because there was a different kind of mask. First of all, I love they have these little cutouts. I don't know if you can see it. And then they're Velcro, so you can adjust the spacing, and it's organic cotton. Because I live next to a parking lot, and the light, it's really blue light, and it shines directly into my bedroom. And my daughter has a similar situation. That's why she said, Mom, I need some sleeping mask. And you have a Velcro here, you can adjust the size. So I've been sleeping with these because it's so important to be exposed to, like, we have such light pollution in our cities. So really, we don't have time. Maybe we can talk about them another time, but I really love these. And I think you also have a Black Friday. I put the link in the chat. You have a Black Friday sale going on right now. There was one more question before we hop off. Okay, do you also do prescription? Do you also offer, like, for anybody that actually needs glasses, do you offer prescription glasses?
We do offer prescription and all type of prescription. And it's good that someone asked this question because it completely slipped off my mind.
Me too, because I don't wear glasses anymore.
Absolutely. I mean, that's another rabbit hole that we could dive in. I'm just going to touch on it very, very quickly, but next time we could explore it. But technically, all prescription lenses and contact lenses, they are inherently designed to block 100% of UV light, which is something terrible because we have photoreceptors in the eye called neuropsin that are actually sensitive to UV, and they play a fundamental role in programming mitophagy and autophagy, which is literally the ability of the mitochondria in the eye to repair itself and to replace old mitochondria with new mitochondria. So without going deep into that rabbit hole, and I promise next time we can talk more about it, we came up with a technology for prescription that allows 60 to 70% UV light to pass through the lenses. And we call those the 4-in-1. Why the 4-in-1? Because your base frame would be the UV transmitting lenses, which you wear outdoors so that you get more UV light passively without needing to think about it. And then you have 3 clips, daytime, evening, and nighttime, that are for artificial lighting at different times of the day.
Okay, this is awesome. So do people, I mean, if you have any questions, let's just finish with that. Where can people find you? So if you have any questions, especially about the prescription glass, but anything else we covered, how can people reach you? And is the Black Friday sale also for prescription glasses or just for the regular ones?
So basically the sale that is going on right now ends by the end of today, and it's a 20% off.
Okay, go.
And it doesn't. So basically, our prescription lenses are literally like much cheaper than what you would get from an optometrist, and this is because we don't make profit on them. We're working with a lab, and we actually sell them at the same price that the lab gives them to us. So we don't do discounts on prescription, but the frames and everything
that makes sense.
would be discounted.
I'm so happy to hear that, Roudy, because this is the one thing for you and I, we don't need glasses. So we are, but then anybody who does need glasses, then they're stuck with those. They put those coatings on and the UV block, like you said. So this is very exciting. And
also,
okay, you guys, I put the link in there.
Not only they're missing on UV, but they're missing also on that blue light in the range between 390 and 420 nanometer, because most optometrists today, they're putting that coating for the glasses that people are supposed to wear outdoors, which is terrible.
Yeah, this has been so informative. We definitely have to have you back maybe for a couple more times. So where can people find you? Obviously your website, VivaRays.com. And by the way, the packaging, look how the outside box, how beautiful is this? VivaRays.com. And then you are on Instagram, same, right? VivaRays?
Yeah, VivaRays.
What's the best?
You could also reach out to us at support@vivarays.com. If you have any questions, let us know that you're coming from Claudia's audience, and we'll make sure to take great care of you and answer any of the questions that you may have.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. This was so incredible. So YouTube, we have to say goodbye.
And
And
by
we
the way,
will be
Claudia,
back next. Actually, no, not. Yes.
I just want to let the audience know quickly that also we prepared like we prepared an article about light and how you can improve your eyesight using light stuff. And I think I shared the link with your team, so hopefully they could access this material.
Yeah, I put that into the YouTube chat as well. So that is great. I know you created a wonderful article. So I put that into YouTube as well. Thank you, thank you, thank you for those of you watching us live. Next week is Thanksgiving, so we're not going to have a show next week. But otherwise, I wish you all amazing holidays. Thank you so much, Roudy. Follow him on Instagram. I think you have a YouTube channel. Go to his website. If you are watching live, grab the 20% Black Friday sale before it's over. It's always nice, right, to save a little bit of money.
Yes.
And thank you so much. This was absolutely brilliant information, and I learned a lot too.
Pleasure.